Yep, it is 11:30 and we'll get started. We still have people joining, but my counter says we have 34 people online with us. So that's great. So welcome everybody to today's webinar from the Goldmind project. My name is Andrew Vink and I'm the president of the Goldmind. We are a volunteer nonprofit organization that strives to encourage the many people who are in a career transition. So just a reminder that this webinar will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. A link to the post will come out once it's uploaded. Today our presenter is Diana Frost. Her career began as an environmental engineer, and through these jobs she was able to help people with water and sanitation projects, particularly in Latin America and the Caribbean. In 2016, Diana made a career pivot and now runs a book publishing business with a focus on Indigenous work. The workshop today will include a variety of activities with both individual and group work. It will be highly participative, and the intent is to create a small supportive group, and you'll be asked to give feedback to each other and to help each other. We will be using breakout rooms, I think twice during the workshop. I will be controlling the breakout rooms. It'd be a new experience for me doing that, and hopefully that all works. But the intent is to get you into smaller groups and encourage you to share your experience with one another. So please join me in welcoming Diana. Go ahead, Diana.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Andrew. I'm very grateful to have been invited to speak today. I wanted to invite everybody to open up your chat as well, and to share on the chat. If you're not sure where that is, if you bring your mouse down to the bottom of the screen, you'll see chat, and then you can just it would be great if you can share. If you have comments, you have questions, and maybe Andrew, if you can keep an eye on the chat room in case there's a problem or there's a question, that would be really amazing. If everybody could mute themselves while I'm speaking, and unless you have a pressing question, comment kind of thing, that would be really great. And so I'm just going to share my screen now so that we can start the presentation. Okay. Yes, hi, Bill. Nice to see you online here. Okay, so the name of the workshop is Reconnecting with Your Inner Fire. And my name is Natohyinhsin. That's a Blackfoot name I was given a couple of years ago for the work that I'm doing with the Treaty 7 Blackfoot people here. And I run a social enterprise. It's called Coloring It Forward. It's a combination of a business and a nonprofit organization. And what we do is we work with elders and artists, and we create products on the business side, coloring books, journals, calendars, et cetera, that feature Indigenous artwork. You'll see some of the artwork in the presentation. I did put a few pictures in there because I just think it's so beautiful. I love artwork. Art just makes the world better. And also I'm going to be sharing one of the pieces of wisdom from one of the elders that we have in one of our coloring books as part of this workshop. So thank you very much for joining us today. And we will give you a chance to also introduce yourselves. So the first thing I want to do is acknowledge the land that I'm on. I'm from Quebec myself, but I'm a defector, I guess you could say, because I live in Alberta. So I live on Treaty 7 land. It's the land of the Blackfoot, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nation and the Métis Nation Region 3. So I'm very grateful to have been embraced here and to be living here. So this is today's plan. Today's plan, we're going to start with doing an activity so that you can introduce yourselves. It's the first thing, it's going to be a breakout session. We're going to do 2 breakout sessions where Andrew's going to organize it so you're automatically put into a room with 3 other people. Andrew and I and Allison may be one of the people in your room. It's going to be kind of ad hoc. I'm not sure. It's a kind of a random assignment. And then at the end of the time period assigned for the activity, you're going to be automatically brought back into the main room. Another thing I'd ask you is to get a notebook and a pen or a pencil and keep some notes, because when I, did these exercises myself, I found that it was useful to be able to go back and look at what I had come up with for various reasons. So keep some notes. And then I'd ask you to help each other out and participate in the chat or in, live voice, and have some fun. So this is the first thing I wanted to share with you. This is the Wheel of Life that was shared with me to put into the Cree coloring book that I made with Elder John Sinclair. So this is the Wheel of Life, or some people call it the medicine wheel or circle of life. And as you can see, it has the 4 directions, north, east, south, and west. And each of the directions has the color white, red, yellow, blue, and also has many other characteristics that can impact us, or that we can use to make our lives better. The one thing to remember is that the only constant in life is change. So in Indigenous culture, you're supposed to be granted rights to do teaching about the medicine wheel. So I'm not going to be doing teaching. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read you what John wrote about each of these sections, and then hopefully it helps you in your journey. So in the east section, this is what he wrote. The morning time is when the sun comes up and brings the light so that we can see. The gift of vision allows us to look inside to see who we are, to help us to see those things that may need some fixing, those things that we could use help with. That gift of vision is there for all people, no matter what color or what race we are. We all have the same gifts. The sun comes up every morning. The same sun shines for all peoples in the world. There's never not enough for all people. That tells us it was made by the Creator and gifted to us. Gratitude is so important so that we do not take for granted all the things the Creator has provided for us. So that first doorway is the east doorway, and it's the doorway of vision. So we can think about that for ourselves. How can we look inside ourselves? And we're going to be doing a little bit of that today, looking inside ourselves. Say the next doorway is the southern doorway, and this is what he wrote. The next gift comes from the south. Our grandfather, the sun that moves across the sky each day, giving us time. Time to grow, time to learn, time to be with others, time to be a husband, a wife, a grandfather, a grandmother, a sister, a brother, a child, a son or a daughter. Time to laugh, time to cry, time to be happy, time to be sad, time to feel, time to get to know who we are. When we've looked at ourselves and seen what is inside, we begin to gain some knowledge about who we are, and we develop a relationship. And the gift in this direction is time and relation. Then we can relate to things we see inside us. And the next doorway is the doorway of the west. We move on to the next direction in the west, our grandmother Thunderbird. Now I haven't kept all the information in this circle of life because it's a lot. So I didn't put the animals in there and all that. So my apologies if it's confusing. When the thunder beings talk, we hear the rumbling, we see the lightning, we know the rains are coming to bring new life to the earth, to cleanse the old and bring the new growth, the new greenery, grass, plants, all of the standing nation. That is also the doorway of water, the place of understanding. We begin to understand who we are as human beings when we use the other two gifts, time and relation, from the southern doorway. We now begin to understand how we became who we are today. Once we see how that relates to us, then we begin to understand and have the feelings about what we understand. We process those feelings to bring change in our life. So today, I think that's what a lot of you are here for, is you want some change, I'm assuming. Anyways, so that Western doorway is so important for the change. And then we move to the northern door, to our grandfather wind, the element of air. As the wind blows through a tree, we see movement and change happening with that tree as the leaves are blown and move about. The gift in that direction is movement and change. We are grateful for the changes that happen when we've sat and learned with each of those gifts. Natural law states that it can't be any different. Change has to happen once we look at ourselves. So, thank you, KM. I don't know what your first name is. I'm looking in the chat. So I hope you enjoyed those passages from John Sinclair. And I love Nelson Mandela, so I put a little quote in there as well about changing and how important it is to start with changing yourself. So, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, so I lived as a teenager in Africa, so I love Land Cruisers. This is me with my Land Cruiser. And I thought I'd put this little quote: you can live your life like you're in the Land Cruiser, jumping from one rut to the next. And it doesn't mean that I'm flighty or anything, but I'll show you the next slide, and then you'll understand what I mean by changing ruts. So this is why I do know what it's like to change careers, because I've changed careers a couple of times. Whether you call it ruts or career changes or pathways, that's what it was. So I went from being a technical translator right out of engineering university. I couldn't get an engineering job because it was a recession and there was no jobs for anyone, much less I was looking for a water engineering job, but I couldn't find one. So I went to do some technical translation from English to French in Norway for about 6 months. That was my first job out of university. And then once that was finished, I started looking for work. And it was a pretty tough 6 months, because it was still, the economy still wasn't good, but I kept persevering and talking to friends, and eventually someone put me onto an exchange program that was helping people to find jobs, and I got into Enbridge in Edmonton, and I worked as a pipeline simulations engineer for 3 years, and you could see from the hearts that wasn't really what I wanted to be doing with my life. I didn't feel very satisfied or happy, but it was helping me to reach some of my goals, like paying off my student debts. And so after about 3 years of doing that, I decided to go back to school. And so I started a master's, and then right at the beginning of my master's, I got a friend of mine sent me a note saying, hey, there's this job in Peru that you should apply for. It sounds like it's exactly for you. So everyone thought I was completely off my rocker, because I walked into my boss's office and gave him, and told him I was doing my master's. So I went into my advisor's office and I said, sorry, I won't be able to continue my master's because I'm moving to Peru for 2 years to work as a volunteer. So people that year were very I think a bit concerned with what I was doing with my life, because here I quit this good paying engineering job to go and work as a volunteer on water and sanitation projects in Peru, which at the time was still not a very safe place to live. But anyways, I loved it, changed my life. And then I came back to Canada after my 2 years in Peru, and I got a job in Calgary, and that's how I came to be here. And I went from being a water and sanitation engineer to becoming a training specialist, because they wanted to do to train people on how to build household water filters. So that's what I have in front of me right there. This is a biosand filter. So I did training and workshops and facilitation for 4 years in Latin America and the Caribbean. Absolutely loved it. This was an example of when you find something that satisfies you so deeply that you think about it in the shower, you dream about it at night, and your friends stop calling you because you talk about it all the time because you love it so much. So I don't recommend you go that route, but you know, try to find some some balance. But for me, I was very lucky because that was one of the best jobs that I ever had. And then I burnt out because I cared about it so much. So that's why I'm not doing that anymore. And I decided I'd go back to being an engineer to maintain my my credentials and all that, my PEng. So I went back to water facility design. And I did that for 9 years, even though it wasn't really fulfilling me. You know, I ended up doing some Rotary work. I joined the Rotary Club and was did some charity work on the side because I just my job was not doing it for me. So, but I started searching for something else I could do, probably about halfway into that. So it took a long time for me to find what I was going to do next. And it wasn't until I had a dream in 2016. And the dream basically brought together all the things that I had been thinking about in the last couple of years. I was interested in books. That was my first love, was always literature and artwork. And so the dream said that I was going to publish a series of coloring books with Indigenous artists and elders. And I took it seriously. I told some of my friends and they said, wow, that's a really good idea. I was right in the middle of the coloring book craze in 2015, 2016. And it really took off, hit a nerve. And I started it while I was still working for CH2M Hill on the side. And then 3 months later, all the work for me dried up and I got laid off. And I took it as a sign that this was time to pursue my new field, which was book publishing. I decided to be the publisher, not just find a publisher and do it that way. So now I'm an entrepreneur, having, you know, and I started my social enterprise when I was 45. And so if I can do it, you all can definitely do it. And look at the difference in the enterprise. I didn't decide to become an engineering consultant. No, I became a book publisher. I knew absolutely nothing about book publishing. I didn't know anything about running a business. So this is why I put this slide here, is because, you know, when I switched from a water and sanitation engineer to a training specialist, I had never done any training before. I didn't know how to do it, who to work with, etc. So definitely the most important thing is finding what's inside you, what's going to fuel that fire that's going to help you to get through those tough periods, and it's going to give you the passion and the energy to keep going and to keep learning. And when you have passion and energy for something, it's also a lot easier to talk about it. And, you know, I don't know how many of you have ever run an enterprise or a business, but it's a full-time thing. It's always on your mind kind of thing. So with that said, let's get right into the first session. So Andrew, here's some details on the first session, 20 minutes. Basically, you're going to be automatically assigned to a breakout room. You're going to be 4 in the room. And what I'd like you to do is introduce yourselves and then to tell each other what was the moment or the moments or the time in your lives where you felt the best, where you felt so happy and so satisfied. Maybe don't choose the birth of your children if you have that, because it's something that you you created or you worked on, something that you are so proud of. And it can be something in your personal life or in your work life, or something you did for the community, whether it's as an adult or a child, doesn't matter. And I want you to share that with your group. And then I'd like you to choose a person who's going to take notes and share it back with everybody. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the breakout room. And I wanted to just let you know that it's okay if you didn't come up with a moment like or an activity that made you feel super satisfied or super proud. We do have other activities coming up in the workshop where you may find a way to discover what those things are in another way. So I have various questions that I'm going to be asking you to work on that will probably flesh some of those things out. The purpose of this activity was to find out what are things that make you feel so satisfied and so happy with yourself and proud, so that you can write those things down. And then you can try to find ways to inject those things in your life or in your next move, whether it's a new career or job or a business or a pastime. Find a way to get those things into your life. For me, it's empowering others and working on big projects that help people to change their standard of living for the better, that kind of thing, right? So, and I love art and music, and I need something creative. And it was hard for me to be an engineer because it was so scheduled and so regimented, and I had a bit of a hard time with that. So, okay, and then Perry in my group was asking me at the end there, and we got cut off, unfortunately. Like if you've never had a job or an activity where you felt that deep satisfaction or that realization, how do you even begin to try and find out what that is? Well, actually, that's what we're doing today. Today, hopefully by the end of today, you're gonna have written down some things that you absolutely love to do, that really bring that creative juice out of you, that make you smile. And that's the beginning. You got to find those things, the values that you need to live, the values you need to live with, so that you can then start searching. Maybe you find a volunteer job to test out some things, or you just start talking to people and maybe they'll have some suggestions for you. And that's why we're doing some breakout room work, so that you can talk to people about your ideas and they can give you feedback if you want feedback. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. So we're back at so we were here. Oops. Well, I don't know why this isn't sharing. Just a second.
Deanna, you're sharing your whole screen, and the PowerPoint was not in presentation mode yet.
Okay. So maybe while I'm bringing up the PowerPoint again, maybe we can start with inviting the person you asked to share back with the group. If you could share back with us, we would appreciate that. Jacqueline, would you mind starting us off?
Okay, all right, I guess I will start with Amy. Amy is a geologist looking to transition into something else, and right now it's a bit uncertain, and she's just doesn't really know where she's heading, but she's anyways, COVID's sort of thrown a wrench into that. But one of her most satisfying moments in her life was one of her first geology jobs. And I think it was an exploration job near Tumbler Ridge. I hope I have that correct. And she was in the mountains all day. She was flown around in helicopters. She, was hiking to destinations. She described it as playing in the mountains. She loved being outside and the element of freedom. So I'd say the, little less structure worked well for her. And she found that there was time to enjoy the journey, I would say, and time to observe and just to collaborate with other geologists and other students. She also liked the variety that afforded. Amy, did you have anything to add to that?
No, that summed it up pretty good. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, next is Perry. Perry is an oil and gas engineer. Right now he's consulting, but his future is a little uncertain as the company he's consulting for is up for sale. And so right now he's struggling with the idea of transitioning to a different career. He's not sure whether he should start from scratch or stay in oil and gas. And when he thought about his satisfying moments in his life, oh dear, where are my notes? For him, it was job satisfaction. For one thing, he was promoted to a senior position when he was very young. And then also just the satisfaction from a job well done. He's completed transactions that were very challenging. There was challenges with funding and long-term projects, and just the satisfaction that he got with persevering through all that and seeing it all come together. Perry, did you have anything to add?
No, that sums it up, Jacqueline.
Okay, good, thank you. Let's see, and then there's Allison. Allison is actually the VP of the Goldmind project, and she's worked in oil and gas as an engineering technologist, and she absolutely loved the work. She loved helping the engineers, creating what the engineers envisioned. She was part of an enhanced oil recovery team, and she loved doing and learning, doing the work, learning about the wells, and she also loved having the responsibility of keeping everyone safe. So she had a lot of satisfaction from her job. Allison, did you have anything to add?
That was perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Was
Diana? No, thanks. Diana, did you want me to talk about your satisfying moment?
Sure.
Okay, so for Diana, her satisfaction comes from empowering other people. And she spoke about the time when she was working with the water filtration systems and doing the training, and the expression on, I believe it was a woman, her face when she saw clean water coming from the filtering system, and just and knowing this, for this woman, knowing that she had done that. And so Diana got a lot of satisfaction from that work. As for me, let's see, I am Métis, and I have, oh, sorry, my dog is barking. I've worked as as an instructor in the Humanities program, Humanities 101 program at St. Mary's University. And it's a university level class offered to marginalized individuals. And so I found that work very satisfying, to build a relationship with the students, to help them realize their worth as human beings and that they have a lot to offer. And yeah, I wouldn't say that I empower them, but I help them empower themselves, and that's very satisfying. So that's our group.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. We appreciate you doing the summary. Can we invite one of the next groups to go? I'm sorry, I don't have everyone's names, and so I'm not sure who you've chosen to represent you. So if one person could, Janelle?
Sorry, yes, took me a second to get my mouse to unmute there. Sure, so I had Craig Martin and Xochitl Alvarez in my breakout room. So just a little bit about Craig. He has past background in contract administration, never really got a lot of fulfillment out of that. But what does give him fulfillment is improv theater. He loves the creativity of it, the group dynamic, playing off each other's creativity. He likes the energy of it and the chance to use his creativity with other people. It feels good, the sense of accomplishment, the flow of the energy. So I definitely heard that term a couple times when we were talking. He loves getting together to do it, kind of moving on to the next activity, the variety of it. He has done some more traditional theater as well, but he does prefer the improv over the traditional theater because of that variety and maybe more of that. Doesn't take a lot of time to do it. And so for Xochitl, Xochitl is a mechanical electrical engineer, and she was never really that satisfied in the beginning with being an engineer, sitting in a cubicle or an office all day and just sitting and staring at a computer like a lot of engineers do. And just didn't feel fulfilled by that. But then she had a chance to be a project coordinator, and she discovered that she absolutely loved it. It really fulfilled her. She loves people. She said she felt alive. And I asked her why. You know, why do you love people? Why do you love being around them? So that they can grow together. And she has the gift to be able to see people's gifts and talents and help figure out how to best utilize people on the team. And then we had like literally less than 2 minutes to get to me, and I started chatting, but I guess I'll just say it now. But for myself, I'm a civil engineer, an Indigenous civil engineer, over 20 years experience in the oil sands. Went through the Fort McMurray wildfire back in 2016, unemployed, not by choice, for the first time in my life. And so back in the summer, I went through a 3-month COVID career boot camp through a company in Calgary called Repatterning, and got a lot of value out of going through that program and learning about myself and what makes me tick and the value that I can bring to an organization. And so now, in order to give back to Repatterning and pay it forward to other people, I've been doing some facilitator training with Repatterning. And literally right before this call, I literally just finished facilitating for a 2-hour clinic on doing what's called IPs. So finding out what's important to people and what are their pain points. And I love doing that. I feel really fulfilled by being able to help guide people through, I guess, change, guiding them through self-discovery, sharing what I've learned in my life and some of the struggles that I've overcome and am still overcoming. And I enjoy sharing perspective with people. And I love getting curious about people and getting to know them and what's important to them. And so I find when I have the chance to develop things and empower people with different perspectives, or tools or insights. I find that really satisfying.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so that's it.
Did anyone in your group need to add something to what Janelle presented?
Great presentation, Janelle.
No, thanks. It was on the fly, but thank you.
Wonderful. So make sure that when you find those things that really that you were so happy about with your previous job or something you were doing as a volunteer, make sure you write those things down so that you can find your next job or your next opportunity will have those elements in there. Okay, can we have another person present to your group? Oh, sorry, I'm not seeing a hand. Just unmute yourself and start presenting, please.
Can I present my group?
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Amparo.
Yeah, I just have to apologize because right when we got to the end, my computer totally crashed. I had this Windows upgrade, but we love Windows, don't we? So in our group, we have Joan. Joan is a career advisor, and she would like to find out more about this workshop for her profession. We have Martin. Martin is right now in Ottawa. He was 7 years working in Calgary, and he just wanted to attend this workshop to try to find some inner fire and go for his fourth career. And we have Andrew Bink. He's an ex-reservoir engineer. In the last 5 years, he joined thousands of people unemployed within the oil and gas field, and he's been involved with Goldmind. And myself, project manager, mainly the same thing as Martin and Andrew, and we're trying to find some fire, unemployed from a long career of project management. So the most satisfying thing for Joan, she's a person that likes to make a difference in the client's life, and she has been supported and working for people with different types of situations, facing some obstacles, and she has satisfaction to help people with the small things or greater things. And also she does good working. So she does more than good working. She makes things. And when she designs something, she makes sure that she's thinking on the person that is going to get the final piece that she has made it. And so she designs for the person, not for herself. And that is the great accomplishment for Joan. For Martin, when he was through his teen years, the parents had a cabin, and he's very proud that he was able to build an extension to the log cabin, and is there for the good memories of the times that they went through, not just to building the extension, but all the memories accumulated through the years. And for Andrew, his satisfaction, it was work-related, making the oil project where he was working as a designer more environmentally friendly, more sustainable. And he was thinking more about the end user and the environment and the people around the stakeholders. And also he was very satisfied that he was able to trial and to get his project management certification. He passed the exam. And as for myself, one of my biggest satisfaction in work was that on the years as a PM, I was always on the engineering side, and life gave me the chance to be secondment to the owner side. And I was able to work from the conceptual point of a project, going through all the phases, through the procurement, the construction, the engineering, and had a wonderful barbecue with the people in operations. And we saw the oil coming at the end of the line. And that was a very satisfactory. I would say that that was my baby from the work part of my life. So I hope that I really truly represent Martin, John, and Andrew. If I have not, please, it's time for you to say, speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Amparo. Does your team have anything they want to add? Okay, we'll move on to another team, please.
Sure. So there were 4 of us in our group, and just before I start off, it's really so great to listen to other people's stories. It's very inspiring to hear them. I'm glad we're doing this. The first person in our group to share was Kirsten Akins. She's a business consultant here while she's in Chestermere, so close to Calgary. And when she was talking about a satisfying work moment, she talked about First Nation settlement distribution that she undertook. And she said she had never done anything like it before. And she was able to execute it so well that instead of the acceptable 3% difference or error rate, hers was 0.01%. So she did a great job, and she talked about the satisfaction of working so hard on something and having it turn out like that. And yeah, kind of gives you goosebumps to hear about that. Mayank, I hope I pronounced that right, Parmar was the second person in our group to speak. He's in business development and he's presently in school. And what he shared about as his most satisfying moment just like blew my socks off. So when he was in junior high, him and a friend established a credit union in their town. Like, it's so understanding like how capital works and how to get a credit union up and off the ground. It's just, it's mind-blowing. I can't imagine undertaking that at my age. And when you're that young to do something so remarkable, yeah, really, really amazing stuff. And the third person, so proving that it is a small world, Rick Bainbridge and I actually worked together a number of years ago. So it was funny to encounter one another when we turned our cameras on. Rick is an IT consultant, and he was sharing about, satisfaction from doing work that's meaningful, and how I think this is a theme for many people right now. The pandemic and the changes in the economy, Calgary kind of has a double whammy that, many people are facing just finding work rather than finding satisfying work. And how that's just doesn't seem to always be possible right now. My name is Karen Mcpherson, and I used to be an IT consultant. I went into politics, and now I'm getting a not-for-profit off the ground to empower rural areas to have reliable, high-speed internet, because it's really important. And what I shared about in terms of a satisfying work moment, it wasn't really like a big, impactful thing, but it felt good to do it. So I was working, I used to work in oil and gas, like just about everybody else. We had a really big transaction. Our company had sold a lot of properties to another company, and we wanted to celebrate this big transaction. And so I put together a party for like 300 to 500 people and got swag for them, and it was a big deal, and I'd never done anything like that before. I eloped, like I hadn't even done a wedding, like so yeah, and just walking around downtown Calgary years later and seeing some of the swag, like there were messenger bags and stuff with the transaction on them, just seeing that stuff, I don't know, it was kind of gratifying. It was really an interesting experience to see how it had a ripple effect. And I'm not sure if my teammates have anything else to add.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we go to the next team, please?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Sure. So I'll start with Zula. She's actually originally from Venezuela, and she's an engineer. And she shared with us one of her most accomplished moments was when she actually, their corporation she worked with opened a new office in Argentina. So she had left Venezuela to open this new office, and it was out of her comfort zone because there was only a small group of 4 of them. And she was there for about a year, and within that year, that office ended up growing to 100 people. And so she felt that there was such an accomplishment because she was stepping out of her role, and she took on many challenges and many different roles. And that felt like a real accomplishment to her. And it wasn't a technical role, which she normally would have done. So that was, and being out of location too. So that was one of her moments that she felt that was really important and an accomplishment for her. In my group, we had Rebecca as well, and she is a geologist currently with Total. And she too kind of had, like myself, kind of struggled with what was the most important or moment that she felt accomplishment. And she brought, and talked about 10 years ago when things were really good in the oil and gas industry and things were really busy, and working with a team towards one goal as a group, and you were out of maybe your comfort zone again. And that gave her a lot of, I guess, the momentum to feel accomplished because of what the group and herself contributed to and the outcome from that, in an environment that, you know, was fast-paced and had direction and goals, and you work towards that as a team, and that feeling that you got from that as a team was one of her most moments of accomplishing for her, which I could relate to as well. And then Maureen actually works in the environmental industry. She's been off now for a number of years, about 5 years. And even though that was very satisfying working in the environment industry, she actually talked about her accomplishment she feels is her 3 kids, and what they've come through as a family and how close they are now. And her kids have struggled with anxiety and a few mental issues, as you know, in this society that we all do, and that she feels her accomplishments are that the family has come through that supportive and are very close. And she looks at her children now and how successful they are and how well the family is doing. And she feels that being there for them and how they've progressed is a real accomplishment. That was hers. And for myself, I'm a geological technologist by trade and laid off too with COVID. And I too kind of struggled with what is the moment that, you know, I feel is most accomplished. There's a few things, but I think part of it is I was trying to describe to the team about how, like when I was working on getting my GIS degree at night at school, but working full time, that felt like an accomplishment. So I think it all kind of comes back to like when you had a goal or like working with a team and you felt that you had that passion towards that specific goal, and you could see different aspects of your life, either with your work team or like when I finally did get my degree, that is an accomplishment, and you have direction and you have passion for it. So I think that's kind of like those moments are when I personally felt that I was at my best as well. So that's that.
Wonderful. Thank you for presenting, Jennifer. And does anyone on your team want to add something? Thank you. So I'd invite the next team member, please. Are there any other teams?
Yep, I guess I'm next. My name is Linda, and I had the privilege of meeting Sue, Betty, and Rosie, so I hope I do them justice here. I'll start with Betty. Betty, in 2001, started in the oil and gas industry in the regulatory environment and did that for 15 years. And when she started to shine in talking was when she was talking about the family that environment, her work environment created. And I would say that the collaboration process was my biggest takeaway for Betty, that things she should be doing in her life really need to be a collaborative environment, that it really sparked her light as she was talking. And that's coming through the oil and gas industry that she found that spark. My next person was Sue Wilmot, and Sue was telling us that after a significant birthday that she was in a rut and she quit her job, kind of like what Diana was saying about her life, her path. Quit her job. She found a sign language program in Edmonton. She found some family to move in with. I think she'd been in Calgary all her life, so that was a big transition for her. And going to Edmonton and taking this program, it started her career in human services and launched her working for a number of organizations, nonprofit, and supporting different organizations, and volunteering as well. The other person I wrote about was Rosie. We never got to see Rosie, unfortunately. But she was telling us that she moved here from China in 1999. She's a professional accountant by trade and finished her designation while she was in Canada. She got a job with Enbridge in 2015 and, until 2015. So she was there 10 years, I believe. And in 2019, her opportunity was to go back to Enbridge. And that's when it cemented that she had found a sense of belonging. And so that was significant to her and has impacted her career, and where she'll be staying and moving forward from is that position of stability, and I found my place. And then it got a little tight on timing at the end, and we had Sue write about me. And so I hope I did them service because they sound like three remarkable ladies.
Can you share about you?
Sue, do you want to hit that? I'm not sure if she's there. Oh.
I could, but it's probably more interesting from you, but whatever you prefer.
Sure, I'll do it. I was saying that my career, I've had an interesting career. I worked for the Calgary Flames for 5 years and then switched over to veterinary medicine. And I'm going to segue here for just 1 second because it's such a big topic these days of starting in new industries. And what I just want to point out is don't put limits on yourself, because I went from hospitality to veterinary medicine with no veterinary experience. So sorry, that's a little segue, but I think it's important as we all are transitioning through COVID and the economy is the boundaries that we put are often on ourselves. And so that was a big leap for me. But what I was most satisfied with was I became a volunteer for the Victims Assistance Unit for the Calgary Police Service. I did that for 5 years, and tragedy or trauma is the great human equalizer, and it doesn't matter who you are. So when we judge ourselves in terms of I'm poor, I'm female, I'm overweight, I'm too thin, I'm not pretty enough, that at the end of the day, you know, that we are all equal, and we all are born and we all die, and everything in between is everyone's trying to get the best of that as they can. And so my satisfaction was being able to support and witness. I'm a privileged witness of Calgarians on their worst days and how they triumph through that. So that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Linda. Does your team have anything they want to add? Okay, well, thank you. Could we have someone from the next team, please?
I can go next if you like. Well, I didn't do as detailed notes as most of these people have, but we had Bob, who was a retired project manager in oil and gas. He really found satisfaction in the most difficult of tasks, trying to solve problems in projects that disillusioned the client and win the client back. So that was his greatest satisfaction. Nikki was an engineer and was laid off 3 years ago, does some contracting, and also recently got her archaeology degree. And what Nikki likes the most is doing facilitating and collaborating with other people. She finds that most satisfying. We had Brenda, now I hope I get this right, is in IT, recently took a business intelligence degree, and she finds volunteering rewarding, but it also can be challenging. So she likes the rewarding part of it the best. And then we had Lori. Lori was actually from Las Vegas. She has been unemployed for quite a while, but is very involved in the volunteer community and really finds volunteering to be something that gives her a lot of satisfaction. Myself, I worked in the oil and gas industry, and I'm not currently working. And in this particular seminar, to figure out what I really enjoy achieving, but at this moment I don't know. So I don't have that. Some of the things that I did through my work was I was usually the go-to guy for anything no one else wanted to do. And I was also the go-to guy for information or finding solutions to things. So that's the one thing I found satisfying at my work. So.
Thank you. Does anyone from your team want to add anything? Okay, thank you, Tracy. Is your name Tracy, or is that, yes, yeah. Oh, you're muted, but thank you, Tracy, for that summary. Next team, please.
I will go next. My name's
Thanks,
Lisa.
Lisa. Can I just, sorry to interrupt you for a second. I just wanted to ask everybody to just, while you're listening to everyone else's, you know, like inspiring moment or satisfying moment, it can bring some stuff up for you. So make sure you write that stuff down if it does. Thanks, Lisa. Go ahead.
Okay. So we had 3 people in our group. Lance is in earth sciences. His satisfying moments in his life from work was working on a 3-year land consolidation project. And this brought companies more access to land that they normally wouldn't have access to. And this was also satisfying to him because it was through periods of a lot of organizational change that was happening. In his personal life, he created a fundraising organization that created a computer lab and a playground for preschools. And he thinks it's great that it's still being funded to this day. He likes to build things that have lasting value, and he wants to see people succeed. Excuse me. Lance, did you have anything else to add? Okay, so I'll go on to, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that was great. Yeah, the only thing I have to add is apparently I can't seem to hit the unmute button as well as I thought I could. That was a great summary. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. The next person in our group was Raz. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He's a project manager with 18 to 19 years experience. His most satisfying moment in his work life has been a 1.5-year project that he has just completed that encompassed 15 solar projects in Alberta. He really enjoys renewable energy. At the moment, he feels a bit burnt out. He likes the work he does, but he wants to figure out why he's feeling burnt out. Is there some kind of tweak that he needs to make in his line of work? And recently, he's enjoyed spending time with his family over the Christmas holidays, which it didn't sound like he did that a lot. So he was really grateful for that. Is there anything else you want to add, Raz?
Oh, that about sums it up. Thanks, Lisa.
Oh, okay. And then myself, I'm a payroll and systems specialist. The most satisfying moment in my life when I was off work for a period of time, and I was doing a lot of meditation, and it made me feel really good. I started creating meditations and recording them. I didn't do anything with those, but I guess it created kind of an outlet for me to be creative, and then it kind of brings the thing that I want to help people, other people who are maybe feeling depressed or anxious, to feel calm and make realizations to improve their mental health through their own awareness. I've been really separated from that kind of work. I think I've been putting my energy into too many things. And I just want to feel more focused, but on the other hand too, I don't want to pick something that might be the wrong thing that I'm choosing and then kind of fail at that, I guess. And that's, I guess, maybe part of my fear right now. But yeah, so I think that's something I maybe need to get over, but I wanted to thank Linda too for her words of wisdom. It was really good to hear that we're really on the same boat, and that we don't need to be putting these limits on ourselves. So that really resonated with me. So thank you for that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
That wonderful presentation. I think we have one more. Did we have one more group, I believe?
Yeah, Diana, I think that I thought Dawn was we didn't agree on who was gonna present, and Dawn had to step out, so I'll do it. So we started off with.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but just to let everybody know that after this, we have some questions, individual work, and so stay tuned.
Can I go now?
Yes. Sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. I'll just maybe figure out how to put my camera back on here. Is it coming? Anyways, maybe it'll come on. So we had Anna is in real estate in Texas, and at one point she joined a real estate or a law firm, and basically introduced that law firm into the world of estate planning, and came up and was instrumental in developing a program that got approved by the law board to train realtors in how to be able to advise clients that were now responsible for going through probate and other kind of things where a property owner had passed away, and that it really opened up new areas for that brokerage, and some good business opportunities, and taught the lawyers that, hey, they got lots of skills in different areas that they didn't even know about. So, and then she's decided to branch out and follow her passion and start up her own real estate brokerage. So she's studying to do that right now. Dawn, oil and gas professional, and was into various different aspects of from the production areas to facilities, and was got a lot of enjoyment on a multi-billion-dollar spend where he did a lot of the front-end feasibility work, and had someone in his sphere of influence that once said, "You know what? You're MacGyver, because you've got a tremendous ability to dig down into the details and find the solutions." And he loves going on new ideas and sort of challenging the status quo. And in the personal side, a big accomplishment for him was beating cancer. And then his ability to be positive, flexible, and resilient. And another personal thing was being a big community member. It's sort of known as the rink rat in the local areas. It's so popular right now with COVID that he can hardly get out and maintain the rink. Then we had Dean, mechanical engineer and MBA, and that he had got laid off from the engineering fabrication business in Calgary and decided, you know what, I think there's better places to live while I figure out what I want to do in life. And so he moved out to the Vancouver Islands. Forget exactly which island he was in. And that, but on the personal side, big accomplishment. His wife and he adopted some kids, and that's been very satisfying. Then let's just see who else we have here. I think then so then it's me. So I think that I indicated that I've been in oil and gas for many years. Started in the trades, went into district engineering, then oil front end supervision. I got lots of accomplishments because my operating area was the biggest area for West Coast in Fort St. John area with the greenest people. So training the new people and starting them off on their career was accomplishment. Things I didn't say when we were in the group that's come to me is I was a chairman of the Fort St. John Oilman's Bonspiel, which was one of the biggest Bonspiels in that kind of field, and the trap shooting and other things. So it was a big sense of accomplishment to bring a bunch of different volunteers together and figure out what their strengths were and how to put on events with some pretty major budgets. And then I got asked to go to head office in Vancouver when SAP was in the bleeding edge, when everything was in German on the screens at version 1.0. And we're going through and doing major changes in the organization, and I was asked to become change and transition management because I had such a good way with people. And it was really cool to go and find out, okay, what were their fears of this change? What were they trying to achieve? And go, okay, and created some simple solutions for them. Then I left that organization and went consulting. And in that one, I got some times to work with the local residents close to where a compressor station was putting in and finding out what their challenges are and how to meet in the middle and satisfy their fears, but still get the needs that the company needed. And then moved to Calgary from the Lower Mainland, joined the predecessor to CH2M Hill at Vico, and actually did work for the firm that I had with West Coast previously before. And what was really satisfying there was the project manager that I worked with on the client side was asked by someone else and said, who's your PM at Vico? It's Bill Arnall. Oh, I remember Bill. Back in the SAP days 10 years ago, he created these menus. They were so cool. Made it so easy for us to use this software. So 10 years later, they still remembered a simple change because I listened to them and I solved their problems. So then while I was doing engineering, I love personal growth and development. And I found a technique called belief repatterning. So I've studied that, and then I'm a practitioner. And that's a way to change all these programs that run our lives as human beings subconsciously and flip the switch to positive thinking. And so then I've been out of the actively in engineering consulting because of the economy. And at that point, I just went, okay, fine. I had demolished my basement with knowing that I had a guarantee of another year's contract, and then that contract vaporized. So I went, let's just focus on getting the house done. So I got all the house done, and still looking for work. Picked up some stuff doing rainwater harvesting, water treatment for campgrounds, for custom houses, things like that. And then did some stuff with moving a small business that needed a manufacturing, warehousing, stuff in the essential oil business, that they lost their lease and they needed to move their whole production and warehousing sales facility in 6 weeks. So I learned their business, successfully moved them, kept them in business, and then it took us 8 months to actually finish the job. And then
Wonderful.
and then it really something that's
Bill, I'm going to have to ask you to come to a close. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to come to a close very quickly. I got a friend of mine called me up, emergency. Come to Vancouver Island, help me renovate. We just got a water flood, and I want you to be the project manager on a big custom home on the island. So I'm leaving tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bill, for doing the summary. And did your team want to add anything?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So I'm grateful to all the presenters for sharing, and hopefully all of you enjoyed learning what things are satisfying to each other, and hopefully it gave you some ideas. Now we're going to move on to our next activity. I'm going to share my screen here. Get your pens ready because we're going to be doing some work. Now, sorry. Okay. So hopefully I can get this going here. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to take, I'm going to give you a few minutes, and what I'd like you to do is to write down who are 3 of your heroes and why. What are the attributes of these people that make them your heroes? Now for me, it's Nelson Mandela, my grandmother, and Leonardo da Vinci, and you can see underneath I've written some of the attributes that I value in these people. And so I'm going to go back to the previous slide and give you a few minutes, and if you can jot those things down, that would be great. If you have some of them down and you want to share with us, we'd love to see it in the chat. If you want to write in the chat, that would be great to see some of your heroes and some of the values. So you may see some things come up that are shared between the 3. Like for me, I see that a lot of them are visionary, they're courageous, they're adventurous, they're compassionate. So if you see those commonalities, make note of those things. Okay, Dean, I see Barack Obama, leadership, Stephen Hawking, Mother Teresa, selfless humanitarian, excellent. Anyone else want to share? So you can continue working on these things even after the workshop. This is one of the ways for you to figure out what, because the values that we admire the most in other people are also the values that we have within us, that we admire in ourselves, or we want to cultivate them more. And so it's a good idea for you to find what are those things that are so mostly important to you that you admire so greatly. So that's why you're doing this exercise. Okay, so chill. Mother Teresa, Lance, I see. Oh, we got quite a few people coming in. Queen Elizabeth for her grace in adversity. Wonderful. Janelle Jordan Peterson for compassionate, truth teller, integrity, challenges, status quo, empowers people, thinker. Wow. Linda, Chris Hatfield, Rick Mercer, Brenda, Dr. Hinshaw for his patient, respectful, kind, understanding, intelligent. So keep a note of these things, because these things will help you with your own journey. So the next exercise I'd like you to do is think back to when you were a child or when you were a young teenager or something. What did you like to do? What did you love to do? What could you do for hours and hours every day? Think about, were you by yourself most of the time? Were you with others? For me, I spend a lot of time alone. I'm a bit of a introvert, but I also liked to do certain things in groups as well. Did you like to do some role playing with your friends? Did you play the teacher? Did you pretend that you were a veterinarian or things like that? And then the other thing is, were you really active, or were you more like, did you prefer to stay quietly reading or writing? And then were you the one who was instigating? Were you the coordinator? Were you the leader, or were you the follower? And then the things that are particularly important to keep track of is the things that made you lose track of time. And even today, what are things that make you lose track of time? So I want you to write all those activities down, as many as you can, and keep those in mind, because you can find a new career or you can find a new occupation that will bring out your inner fire with those components in mind. Now, it's possible that you have hobbies right now that do that for you. So, keep those in mind too. But if you can write down what you did when you were a child, and if you want to share some of those things in the chat, we'd be happy to see those. I see Lance added number 2, Jerry Mark Bright. I don't know if I said that right. Literally a kid on the street who became the best referee in NFL history. Goal setting, search for excellence. And your dad, he made being a dad look easy. Yeah. Reading, yes. Okay, I don't know how everyone's doing with this exercise. Like I said, you can always continue working on these exercises, of course, even after the workshop. Okay, Maureen says knitting, which I learned from my grandmother, can get pure joy from being creative. Lovely. Lisa, being outside. Brenda, puzzles, knitting, crocheting. Mayank, oh, sorry, you have to leave. Okay. So I want to go on to the next activity. And if you haven't left Mayank and everybody else, this is a pretty important one, especially if you're looking for your next step. So congratulations, you just won the lottery and you're a gajillionaire. So you have all the money in the world and you don't have to worry about that anymore. And you have freedom of time and money and energy. Now, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to contribute to the world and your community? And so, and what's your big dream? Even if you feel like this is impossible, we'll never get there, guess what? You can get there. It may be possible, so write it down, continue thinking about it, I have another slide that will give you some ideas of how you might actually be able to make those dreams a reality. So write them down, don't discount them, just like we heard earlier. I think it was Linda was saying that to us. Write it down, because you may be able to make a completely different transition into a totally different thing that you never believed you would do, like me, engineered a book publisher, you know, like. So write down what your dreams are, and you know, what kind of person do you want to be if you had all the freedom in the world. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about this. And if you want to share in the chat, that would be great. Actually, it'd be fun if any of you want to share any of these questions, if you want to unmute yourself and just share, but it has to be a short share within like 30-second kind of a thing. I see Maureen says, help people with difficult backgrounds appreciate their worth. Lovely. And So Chill would love to use her virtue and share it with her blessing. So she's becoming a charitable person. And Lance wants to run as a alderman. Oh, a good politician. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Go for it, Lance. Does anyone want to share something that they might have come up with? Okay, we're going to move on to the next activity. Because we're at 1:14 and the workshop ends at 1:30, I'm very sorry we won't do the other breakout session, but I still would like you to do the activity. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to consider crafting your life mission. And so I want you to look back on your notes. What were the values that you identified that you hold dear when you did the heroes exercise? What were the activities? What are the activities that make you feel so satisfied and happy? And from this last gajillionaire exercise, what is the change you would like to create? And then I'd like you to try and put it into words, into a mission statement for yourself. And I put at the bottom mine that I wrote not long ago, to be an altruistic visionary who empowers others to make positive change and pursues lifelong learning, adventure, and enjoyment of the beauty of life. Of course, you know, these things, your mission's going to change over time. Feel free to make this creative. You can also, instead of writing a life mission, you can make a dream board. You can, you know, use images, and it's a good idea to keep these things that you love, these values that you hold dear, front and center when you're exploring your next step. Because for the next slide, you know, you're going to need this when times get tough, because it'll remind you what's most important to you, and it'll help you to make decisions. So it'll help you to say no to things that would not fit with your mission, would not fit with your values, or include activities that don't satisfy you. I mean, sometimes you have to do things to earn a living, right? But if you want to try and get closer to work that's truly satisfying to you, or, you know, inject things that are very satisfying to you into your life, it's a good idea for you to keep these values, these important activities, you know, in front of your mind. So if you can put it somewhere that you can see it every day, and, you know, when people ask you for commitments, remind yourself of this. What's your purpose in life? Okay, so next steps. Sorry, I didn't give you much time to write your life mission, but it's because, you know, this next step is also very important. So defining your goals. Once you know what your dream is, that might seem like a really big goal, and it might seem daunting, and you're not sure, you know, you think it's totally unrealistic, even, right? Because it just seems so different than what you're doing now, or, you know, it just seems so huge. For me, my big goal was to work on water and sanitation projects in Latin America. And at the time, I was like 22 in university. I had no job experience. I didn't even speak Spanish. And I hadn't ever lived in Latin America, and I didn't know anyone there. So it just seemed totally unrealistic, but I wrote it down. And then what I did is I divided into smaller goals that you see below: repaying my student debt, learning Spanish, and getting a master's degree. And so while I was working at Enbridge, that's what I did. Was I was working on my little goals, my smaller goals. And I wasn't focusing on the big goal because it just seemed so out of reach. I was focusing on the smaller goals. And so little by little, I did, after about 4 years, I had my student debt repaid. My Spanish was at a conversational level I could interview. And I had started my master's. And then right at the beginning of my master's, someone offered me the job, which fulfilled my big goal. So I didn't expect to ever receive that opportunity, but because I shared it, I told people what I was aiming for, and I was working on my smaller goals. I had split the goals into strategies and tasks. I put the tasks into my planner, my day planner, and I started working on it day to day, little by little. And eventually, after 4 years, that's not such a long time, or maybe it was 3 years, I managed to achieve my big goal. And so I think you can do this too. Now, I would like to get some feedback from you on these goals and on the life mission. So I'm trying to find the chat here. I can't see the chat, but sorry, guys. If anyone has some feedback for me on this, or if you have some questions or some comments that you'd like to make, you know, I'd like to hear from you. So that's what I would like to end the workshop with, is to hear from all of you. So if you would like to unmute and share, you know, what you're going through. Yes, so chill. I speak Spanish. I, you know, after 2 years of living there, I was got pretty good at it, I guess. What, Maureen? I see you have a dream of creating a retreat for those in crisis. That's wonderful. So I'd like to hear from some people if you came up with any anything new, what your thoughts were on this workshop and on the activities. I realized that I was asking you for a lot of deep thought in a short period of time. So
I could go, Deanna. Yeah, so it's funny when you say that how you manifest things, that of this opportunity to go and help this person I know get through their crisis and go on and build a beautiful new home. When I was working as an electrician, summer student, I had a guy come to me say, "Hey, do you do stuff on the side?" Sure. So I came over to his house. I put in hundreds of boxes and kilometers of wire, and then I said, "Hey, what about what do you want to cool some wine?" I designed and built a wine rack that would chill the wine naturally. And I thought to myself, I love doing this, but how could I ever earn money doing this? But I put it out there. Well, that I said that in 1978. And so now lately I've been creating some of these things. So, hey, like this opportunity I got right now just came out of thin air.
wonderful. I hope it makes you feel very fulfilled and satisfied.
This last 5-6 days, I'm just like on top of the world. I found a really cool building company in Laval, Quebec that's revolutionary. So I'm hoping we can afford to use them.
Excellent.
Thanks. Great to hear you. Great to see you again.
Thanks, Bill. It's great to see you too.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
This has been really great, and I encourage all the participants to reach out to others that have participated today. We work best in groups, and having a sounding board, we can work together to help each other come up with our best future.
I want to encourage everyone, if you want to, if you have questions that come up for you after this workshop, feel free to email me. I'm putting my email in the chat. If there's anything I can do to help you, I will. Because I love doing this kind of stuff. And, I want to see everybody succeed and become healthier and happier. And I want to see some of those inner fires going. So if you find your inner fire and you're able to channel it into something new, I'd love to hear from you again. So please stay in touch, and thank you, Andrew and Allison at the Goldmind project for inviting me to present today. I know we're a little early on time, so I don't know, Andrew, if you want to end the session early, or if anyone has something they want to add.
Well, I think that people have really been appreciating all the work that you put into putting this presentation on. It was easy for us. Yes, we had to run the meeting, but it was really in the background, and you had some really great material, and I appreciate that you took the time to share your life journey with us, and to help plant some seeds so that we can figure out what we want to do. We've all gone through change, and change is constant in lives. And if we can become stronger people through doing this type of work, then that's a huge benefit. So thank you very much.